Hey y'all, you might not know this, but this November is a big deal. In 2016, we dealt with the presidential elections and the moron circus that goes with the primaries, and debates, and voting for a new president. We chose the one who was dumb and racist. Not, great. So that means we're stuck with stupid dystopia for 4 years, and we give it another shot in 2020? No! There are things we can do to help fix 2016's fuck-ups, and most importantly, that means voting in the midterm elections this November. Now, historically, young people tune out around the midterm elections. They don't realize how important the midterms are, and that you're voting for your U.S. representatives and potentially a U.S. senator every 2 years, not just during the presidential election. It's tough because who watches local news, right? National news only covers national elections, and that makes it tough to stay informed. In 2014, only 23% of young voting age people voted in the midterm election, compared to 59% of older voters. But this election can be different because now, for the first time, millennials are on the cusp of outnumbering baby boomers, who have been the largest voting demographic for many decades. Because we are now such a huge part of the population, increasing young voter turnout just a little bit can make a huge difference. We can swing close races and gain control of Congress. So to put it simply, what's really important in this election is to vote Democrat. Feel like you aren't informed enough? Don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll be one of the more informed voters out there. An AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle. It shoots 3 bullets a second at over 2,000 miles per hour, shooting 30 bullets per clip before needing to reload. Getting shot in the arm or leg will allow you to survive as long as you don't lose too much blood. If you get shot in any vital organs like your heart, lungs, or brain, the bullet will rip through your body and kill you, sometimes instantly, sometimes painfully. You can use an AR-15 to kill large swaths of people, and this has happened many times recently. In schools, movie theaters, concerts, nightclubs, airports. The AR-15 is legal to purchase in the United States. A portion of most gun sales in America go to the lobbying group, the NRA, the National Rifle Association. The NRA funds Republican politicians, who in turn keep the AR-15 and other guns legal to buy. Between Aurora, Colorado, Parkland, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Sandy Hook in Connecticut, and the Las Vegas concert shooting, 163 unsuspecting people, many of them young people or children, were killed for no reason, their bodies ripped apart by men wielding semi-automatic rifles that can be bought at a store. And these are just the shootings with the highest body counts. Tragedies like these happen all the time. This doesn't have to happen. The men and women in Congress who accept NRA money and vote for their policies are supporting mass murder for their own financial gain. Get them out of office. On a lighter note, let's talk about the impending climate apocalypse. Another reason you might consider voting for Democrats this November is because Republicans either don't believe in climate change or they do believe in it, but they just don't care and are fine with destroying the planet. Those are the only two options at this point. The United States is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than any other country in the world, and the Trump administration has decided to completely disregard climate change as a threat. Republicans love voting to help coal and oil corporations, and they get pissed off when you bring up clean energy, because it's not feasible. Yes, it is, and it's the only option. Some Democrats also receive tons of donations from the oil and coal corporations, and that sucks, but most realize that this is an issue that their base cares about. There is some chance of changing our course if Democrats control Congress. There is no chance if we re-elect the Republicans. The ACA, or Obamacare, is a plan that was passed by the Obama administration with the goal of making health insurance cheaper and accessible for all Americans. Republicans, who no surprise are in the pockets of pharmaceutical and health insurance companies, were greatly opposed. They fought, and are still fighting, tooth and nail against it, and against any accessible healthcare coverage for Americans. This is a matter of life and death. People die when they don't have health insurance, or they go into life-destroying debt to pay for medical bills. It happens all the time. And make no mistake, the Republicans did this on purpose. By constantly fighting against a working healthcare system, they are putting your life on the line for their political gain. And to be clear, lots of Democrats pocket money from pharmaceutical companies sometimes too, but they still do a better job of protecting your health insurance than Republicans will. Every other industrialized country in the world has a national health system that allows for its citizens to get care, no matter how much money they have. So why can't we? How about we just have, good health care for once? We could have Medicare for all, or at least a fucking public option. We could control prescription drug costs. We could do a lot of nice things if we vote correctly this November. We really actually could. So let's talk about the Supreme Court. Supreme Court justices are not the only lifelong positions that the president nominates. Congress also has to confirm his nominations to all lower federal courts across the country. Normally, this is a boring process, but Trump has been spicing things up by nominating a bunch of really awful and/or incompetent people. These are lifetime appointments, by the way. So once Trump does his damage, it's really hard to undo. Theoretically, if federal courts fuck up on their own decisions, the Supreme Court can fix things. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, and whatever they say goes. This brings us to Brett Kavanaugh, the drunk man-child you recently saw weeping and snarling at U.S. senators during his job interview. Trump nominated him to the Supreme Court, and then the Senate held their usual confirmation process. But then, multiple women made credible accusations of sexual assault against Brett. Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, one of his accusers, testified to the Senate that Brett Kavanaugh pushed her down, held his hand over her mouth, and turned up the radio so that no one would hear her scream as he and another guy sexually assaulted her, a trauma she still feels the effects of this day. Most people, including Republicans, found Dr. Ford's testimony to be believable. But guess what? The Republicans didn't actually care. They voted to confirm him to the Supreme Court anyway. Brett Kavanaugh was only confirmed by a 50-48 vote. Now he gets to spend the rest of his life making decisions about everyone else's rights. This man is a sexual predator, and the Republicans are cool with it. If there were only a couple more Democrats in the Senate, then this could have been prevented. And there could easily be more Supreme Court openings in the very near future. And here's one more thing to consider. In spite of what you may have read on Trump's psycho person Twitter feed, it's sounding more and more like the president is an actual criminal. His job might be in jeopardy in the near future, since he probably didn't get his job legitimately in the first place. However, to impeach Chester Cheeto, the House of Representatives has to be the ones to initiate it, and for that we're going to need a lot fewer Republicans in the House. Right now, the Republicans have a big majority in the House, but we can swing that this November because every single House seat is up for grabs. That might be right around the time when all of Robert Mueller's and other people's reports are going to show that Trump and his family are straight up crooks. Another thing, with nonpartisan issues like this, your vote definitely still counts, even if your candidate loses. When politicians aren't sure they're going to get reelected, they're much more likely to listen to their constituents and do the right thing. And you can light a fire under their ass by bringing their seat in Congress into question. So yeah, this November is going to be a big deal. Your vote matters. Plus, there will be state and local elections in your area too. The research isn't that hard to do, and if you feel like you're too uninformed, guess what? You're not. That's what the Republicans want you to think, because once you do any research at all, you realize the Republicans are shit and we need to boot their dumb asses out of Washington. The Republicans are hoping and praying that you won't vote, but we can't let them screw up our future anymore. Even though we aren't voting for president, this midterm election is crucial, and flipping Congress can make a historic difference right now. If you're under 35, you can make history. All of these problems are solvable. This can actually happen. And we're gonna do this.